Very well. I'll call this Regional Council meeting to order. Please be advised that tonight's meeting is available for the public to attend virtually. It is being streamed and recorded. Should virtual attendees wish to address Council during either the public comment period or the question and answer period, use the raise hands feature on your webinar controls. When it is your turn and are prompted, unmute your microphone, state your name, and ask your question. Once your question is ended, you'll be muted again. I have no additions to the agenda. Are there any council additions to the agenda? Very well. Any CAO additions?
Just Mayor, I'll just speak to the BC Restart Plan after that. So,
okay, thank you. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt the agenda? Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes. For the special Regional Council meeting of May 10th, 2021, and the Regional Council meeting of May 10th, 2021. Can I get a motion, please, to adopt those minutes? Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Gerwing. All those in favor? Carried. Ms. McIver, is there any virtual attendees who wish to comment on tonight's agenda? Okay, very well. Hearing none, we'll move on. Business arising, outstanding items. Email, vote ratification, donation to Fort Simpson. Can I get a motion, please, or I'll make the motion that the Northern Rockies Region Municipality donate $3,000 to the community of Fort Simpson to assist with flood relief efforts from the Mayor's discretionary budget.
second that.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Admin report number 28, Main Street Revitalization Plan. Ms. Vandersteen.
I just note that Ms. Vandersteen isn't in attendance this evening, but the report is fairly standard for what's required to submit an application to NDIT.
Very well. Are there any comments? Very well. Could I get a motion, please, then? Moved by Councillor Roper, seconded by Councillor Penny, that the Northern Rockies Region Municipality submit an application to the Northern Development Initiative Trust Main Street Revitalization Planning Grant to come from the Northeast Regional account for up to $20,000 to offset the cost of developing a Main Street Revitalization Plan. All those in favor, please. Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. Admin report number 29, Animal Rescue Update. Ms. Shepherd.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm coming back to you again this evening with a follow-up report on the animal rescue situation. The report outlines some of the feedback that we received following the meeting with the various service providers of animal control services.
Thank you. Questions? Any council questions for Ms. Shepherd on this report? Very well. Ms. Shepherd, you have a video to show us, do you?
Sure, I can play that for you.
Ms. Shepherd showed me this video that she made to promote responsible pet ownership in the Northern Rockies, and I was really pretty impressed with that, so I wanted all of council to see it. Go ahead, Ms. Shepherd.
Sorry. Are you seeing that on your screen?
We see a page.
Do you see pets in Fort Nelson?
We see your admin report, Hill.
Yep. We're seeing the admin report, but not the video.
Try again. Oh, it's not pulling it up for me.
Okay, maybe we'll leave this and then perhaps Ms. McIver, or if you could come in later once you get the video ready.
I think I have it here now.
All right.
Is that black screen there?
Yep.
Sorry, technical challenges. I think that was a wonderful video, and it was short and it packed in a great deal of information. I think it was really fun, and of course, everybody likes to see videos of pets. So, okay, I'll call this. Thank you. Meeting to order. Very well. We've received admin report number 29 from Ms. Shepherd, animal rescue update. And there's having no questions. We will move on. You have a question? Go ahead, Councillor Gerwing.
I don't know if other people have questions, but my thought is so what are the next steps? There's some options listed. Regional Council may wish to. I don't want this report just to languish. I'm hoping that we can proceed with some next steps. I'm just wondering what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
Ms. Shepherd, where do we go from here?
Well, that's up to you, Council. I have outlined some of the options there. I'm not really sure what your approach should be, I guess. Increase the service levels of pound service agreements. So for one thing, I think Councillor Gerwing, you had mentioned something about the pound service in the previous meeting, that you were looking to get more of a coordinated effort between the pound service and the animal control.
Right, and, and additionally, like, as outlined in the report, you get to call the bylaw officer, whatever, fire department, Monday to Friday. If something happens on the weekend, then you leave a message, or after hours, you leave a message and it's dealt with the next business day, or if it needs to be dealt with right away, you can call the RCMP, but, I don't think our community is very happy with that service level. And also, I'm wondering if you're thinking, Mayor, about we had a discussion about how much how much we pay for the pound service, and yet not many animals are going there. And so is that the best use of those dollars? And I thought that this meeting, with all of the stakeholders involved, could come up with some solutions for better service within our community. So I don't know that the options that are outlined there actually provide a roadmap for better services. So I guess I'm looking for something a bit more direct, like, so, okay, we're going to take this pot of money and this animal control is going to do this and the pound is going to do that, and hopefully we can somehow increase a contact point. So if we have a problem at 6 p.m. on a Saturday, we don't have to wait till Monday to get it dealt with.
I think we were also talking about a more coordinated approach with, Animal Rescue, SPCA, the pound, and all those different groups to try to bring it together so that we had a more efficient way of dealing with animals, whether they are being turned over or whether they're lost or they're injured or whatever. So we were looking at, some method of dealing with animal control that was a little bit more coordinated than what we had in the past. Are there any other questions or comments on this?
I think one thing I did just want to identify in the report, it does note that procedural happenings from within the NRM were being worked on to try and navigate some of the lack of awareness in the community about the current services, and to try and use the process like it's meant to be. So in the meantime, those things are being reviewed, and we do hope that things like the video and putting out more information about the traveling veterinarian services and that sort of thing will promote awareness about dog licensing, and hopefully get some more community engagement that way. That is in the report as well.
So I note that in the scope of pound services on the last page, last sentence here, it was recognized that while the pound can accommodate felines, there is a hesitancy to accommodate extended boarding due to the undue stress placed on cats in a mixed boarding environment. So are things like that being addressed currently?
Currently, the animals are moved to the pound. If there are animals picked up by animal control, they are to go to the pound, and then it is arranged for that they would be, the next option would be that they go to an animal rescue if they're not adopted, and then that the 72-hour time limit is also on hold. In my research, there are some places like the District of Squamish that have alternate facilities or agreements in place with animal rescue, where the city might operate a pound, and then they might also have a separate contract for an animal rescue, which looks after more of the adoptions and small domestic animals such as cats. So, but we don't have something like that in place here. We just have the pound currently.
Thank you. One of the things that was mentioned here is that staff could provide or provide direction for staff to identify opportunities for additional public services respecting animal care. So with Takashi's shutting down, do we have something in place where we can provide adoption of animals?
Not that I'm aware of. Like a small business, you mean, or organization outside of the NRM?
Well, if there was an organization that was going to take the place of Takashi's, that was going to shelter animals that were picked up from the animals that were abandoned, is the plan now to send them to SPCA in Fort St. John?
Yeah, the interim measure is that the SPCA, well, they haven't come forward with a formal plan yet. They have maintained that they will be providing support to the community. So they're still currently working on a coordinator type position, which would facilitate transfers between the pound and the SPCA and Fort St. John through their animal transfer program. We don't have something in town currently where if you needed to surrender your animal for whatever reason, we don't have anything in place currently that you could just go to and hand over the animal. Same as in the report, there's not anything in place for animals located outside the zone, or for animals located outside the zone that are picked up, or animals that people are calling about that might be in distress or injured outside the zone.
And if people choose to surrender their animals, we have no place for them to surrender those animals to?
Not locally, not with the closure of Takashi's.
And the SPCA, this is a temporary thing where they're assisting the municipality?
Their plan is to provide support, I think in the long term. However, it is contingent on having veterinary services available. I think that's possibly one of the reasons that it's taking a bit longer for a plan to be formalized. There's a problem with needing to make sure animals have vaccinations and whatnot before they're transferred. So they were working with the traveling vet to try and make an arrangement for that, so that they could also have so that they could facilitate the vaccinations of animals and then transfer them on a weekly basis. But that is contingent on the vet services they had noted.
Thank you. So, Mr. Barry, what options do we have here to replace Takashi's to shelter animals that are surrendered, or what can the municipality do about stray animals?
Well, it comes down to what council would like to do and how much they'd be willing to spend to provide that type of service. And if that's something council was looking to consider, then we would investigate various options if council wished.
Councilor Roper.
I believe Laura Richter with Takashi's offered to sit down with us and have a discussion about the future of those kinds of services. I bet she would have some good information for us.
She was part of this meeting, correct, Hillary?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
And did she have input on a direction for providing a shelter for these animals?
Laura was clear in that she an animal rescue type facility would be necessary, that it shouldn't be a volunteer-led program. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And
Councillor Gerwing.
she had submitted a letter to council too that really outlined exactly what she felt needed to be in place for an animal rescue facility. So we do have that information on file. I think that from what I'm reading here, this is like just an information update, perhaps, and I'm hoping that the file is still being worked on. I think we wanted to kind of gather how much money is being spent and then determine, hopefully with input from all the stakeholders, to determine is that the best use of that money. I think I don't know, maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but was it, how much do we spend at the pound every year? But we had virtually no animals going there. So yes, we have to have that service available, but is that the best use of those dollars, or could we be using those dollars in something else? And then I thought that we were going to be reviewing part of the animal control contract too, is are we getting the best service by having that type of a contract, or do we need to beef that up? And then the third component of that is that I know I'm not, and I believe that other people in the community are not happy with the reporting process. It doesn't work, and I think the report prepared by Ms. Shepherd outlines that, as well as that the concerns were relayed that this reporting process is not, it's not working.
So I see,
hopefully we're still going to be doing work on this file.
yeah, and I see money being spent on things like animal control and the compound or the impound for pets, and I'm seeing still problems where we don't have anybody that is sheltering animals, and whether that takes the form of a nonprofit group with assistance from the municipality or how this comes about. I think we need to look at some options here so that people can surrender their pets to some place that are going to be fed and sheltered, and that they're going to get the veterinary care that they need, and to try to minimize the expense to the municipality at the same time. And I'm not sure what that exactly looks like, but I believe, Mr. Barry, are we correct in this? This is an ongoing thing, and we're going to receive more information on this?
There's ongoing discussion just to get, it's good to get some counsel, not necessarily decisions, but direction. So, like, for instance, what we have, the current service level the pound has, it's a service level that council, previous council, of course, but council has directed. That's the reports have gone back to council numerous times when questions got asked, why is someone answering the phone at 9 o'clock? This is the time frame that we provide the service. We can add to the service, but of course, the more you add, it comes down to what service level do you want to provide and how much you want to pay for it. But given the comments that are being discussed at the table tonight, for example, in previous comments, we can go back and take a look at some various options and provide that dialogue, or those options for council, and have that dialogue and discuss. Council can discuss and have communication regarding what they would like to do and what they would like to assume as a municipality or as a local government, I guess, for that matter. Right. The challenge right now, we're in direct control of the animal control component. We need a place when we pick up an animal to bring an animal, right? So that's why the pound, there's expansion going out there currently at Streepers with services they're providing. So there could be some opportunities within that, because there might be opportunities there. But so that's the reason why we need to have somewhere to bring an animal if for example. Council wants to look at opportunities to expand the current animal control process. That's contractual, very easy to do, to be honest with you. It just comes down to it'll cost more for the service. That's all. But again, as Councillor Gruing said, there might be opportunities to move from one to the other and play a bit of the coconut game. But it comes down to what services council really want to provide to the community specific to it. We can bring some more information back, and I know that Hillary, along with the various stakeholders, that's part of those discussions. It's a challenge is no one's really stepped up outside of the organization here since Takashi's closed to take on the role that Takashi's provided previously.
And that would be my perfect solution, would be that we would have a nonprofit group step up to do the sheltering of the animals, and minimize the cost to the municipality, and then we would have those services provided. But if nobody's stepping up, I don't know where we go from there and how much we're willing to spend to achieve what goal.
And therein lies a challenge. I mean, even when you talk to the SPCA, they are having trouble staying afloat, for lack of better words, operating in Fort St. John. in a much larger area, right? And we were fortunate when we had that issue here a couple months back locally that they were able to provide a service and really helped us out. And we had our own fire department transporting animals. But that said, I mean, it comes down to when you look at the nonprofits, and one of the reasons that Laura and Takashi stepped away with what they were doing is because of the significant amount of work and time and effort that they had to put in, and it just lies the biggest challenge, to be honest with you, when you look at the nonprofits, someone as a nonprofit stepping up to do something. But that said, as you know, to answer your question, we can most certainly bring back some various items and some specific options or thoughts for council. But before we can start bringing costs, we have to kind of start to really hammer out what is that service level we're looking for, right? There's a big difference between 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, to even 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, yes, that's more than double what the current service is being provided. But again, all stuff that we can bring back for council for your discussion.
Councillor Gerwing?
Yeah, you know, and we can argue the service levels and all of that, and I'm sure we'll have a discussion about that, but at the very least, I think we need some sort of an emergency number that we can call, that we can expect to service within a reasonable time frame. And also, I would like to see some accountability on the animal control contract, like how many sweeps are done of the community, and you know, what days that happens, or how is it varied, or what happens if they are sick or unable to fulfill the contract, like all of that. Maybe you have all those answers, and maybe you've given them to me and I don't remember, but I think that I would like to see that as part of the report going forward as well.
Okay, are there any more comments on this? Very well. Thank you, Ms. Shepherd, for that. Administration report number 30, Phoenix Theatre expansion request for information.
Mayor Foster, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest. I am employed with the Society. I'm going to preemptively declare a conflict of interest for 7.4 as well.
Thank you. Ms. McIver, if you'd record that Mr. Councillor Roper has left the room. Ms. Thompson, report number 30.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I am here tonight to speak to you about the Phoenix Theatre Management Society's letter that they submitted to Mayor and Council on April the 6th, which essentially requested that Mayor and Council consider designating the parcel of land that's located east of the building, so at 5307 50th Avenue South. Consider designating that area for the future expansion of a theatre and arts facility. Their letter was considered by Council on April the 26th, and at that time, Council determined that further information was required to determine what exactly expansion entailed, and to determine how the expansion and procurement of the land related to their application for grant funding to the Northern Development Initiative Trust, sorry. So since the April 26th Council meeting, Northern Rockies staff have met with the Phoenix Theatre Management Society and did determine that the grant funding from NDIT is not contingent on procurement of the land. However, the success of the project would be. So one of the Phoenix Theatre Management Society is essentially reluctant to spend the resources, so time and money, to put together a proposal if there isn't some level of certainty that they would have access to that parcel of land. The Phoenix Theatre Management Society indicated during that meeting on May 7th that they would be willing to come speak with Council and Northern Rockies staff to provide a conceptual project plan of what they're envisioning for that expansion project. And just in relation to that, they are planning on holding drive-in cinema movies this summer, and we are currently working with the Phoenix Theater Management Society on that, in that regard as well.
Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson? Councillor Gerwing.
Thank you. Just wondering if, in your conversation, did the Phoenix Theater Management Society indicate how they were going to come up with the other part of the funds required? NDIT will not fund an entire project, so depending on what grant stream they're going under, they would have to come up with a sizable amount of money, and I'm just wondering if they gave any indication as to where that would come, those funds would come from.
No, not during our meeting on May 7th. There was no indication of where the funds would come from, although I do understand it's a substantial amount of money that they would have to contribute, hence their hesitation to, you know, spend that type of money on something that they may not have the land to actually do the final project on.
Councillor Penny.
Thank you. I don't really have a question as such, but during the meeting that we had prior to this, deciding what we're going to do with this building. It's a really tough decision right now to say, oh yeah, let's, you know, as I'd hate to see these people go through a whole pile of work and then we're not going to continue with this building. So I would actually like to see what their plans are prior to making a decision on whether I'm all for it or not.
So no, like, there was no decision tonight on this. It was just for information. Council had asked for further information and a bit of an update. Like I mentioned, the Phoenix Theater is willing to come in and put in on a bit of a presentation to kind of explain the project a bit further before any sort of decision needs to be made. I will say that during our meeting on May 7th, they are looking for somewhat of a firm commitment, you know, regarding use of the land or future use of the land before they do submit anything to IT.
So, Mr. Barry, do you want to explain the temporary use permit and the I don't think it's a license of occupation, but it's the where the municipality allows the Phoenix Theater to use that property for a particular length of time under certain terms?
So we're talking two different things, and I don't want to steal Lisa's thunder for the next report.
Go ahead.
But I'll talk very broadly. So basically, the theater is looking for right based on this report that Lisa just walked through. Request for council to bring more information back specific to the use of the property for future use if there was expansion, and that's why they don't want to commit currently on the they being the theater, the Phoenix Theater side, that don't want to commit unless council is able to commit to providing the option for the land. Which again, I'm not going to steal Lisa's on there, but the temporary use permit is specific to utilizing the property for a drive-in theater, and currently it's not zoned to do that. So in order for them to do it in a more, I'll call it more permanent basis, to site a building there for the projector, then they need a temporary use permit. But along with that too, they'll also need a use agreement with the municipality to use the property because it's our property. Parking for Service BC and utilized for access and things like that, which it's relatively easy workarounds because the parking's not there when the theater's drive-in's there, but that's that up versus the agreement that we would have to have also with we already have it.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we're going to that report now, or
I was trying to make sure that council had a good and full idea of this. Maybe that was a little bit premature. Maybe we should have done 30, then 31, then had that discussion. But anyway. Yeah, Ms. Thompson, would you like to address admin report number 31?
Sure.
Temporary use permit for the Phoenix Theater.
don't say what he said.
Ditto.
And try not to repeat what Mr. Barry said.
Oh my goodness, yeah, that's tough. All right, so this is, the administration report is in regards to, so we've moved away now from the expansion project to the temporary use permit. So this is really council's initial consideration of the temporary use permit. You're not approving the temporary use permit tonight. It's your initial review of that. So before we do a lot of work as far as engagement and advertising and things like that, we want to make sure that council's on board, and then we'll move to the next stages. So during the report too, I also interchangeably use drive-in cinema with drive-in theater. I learned that there is actually a difference between theater and cinema. This is for cinema. So a theater would be more like a stage, and they do plays and all those sort of things. So nobody's planning on doing Peter Pan out in the parking lot. It is cinema, but I'll use the term interchangeably. So just a bit of background. Obviously, even prior to COVID, the Phoenix Theatre Management Society was holding drive-in theaters over at the Sliding Hill. And then beginning in April of 2020, last year, they started to hold the drive-in theaters just in the east parking lot at 5307 50th Avenue South, which Scott mentioned is zoned as C2, so it's highway commercial, and a drive-in cinema is not a permitted use within that zone, hence the application for the temporary use permit. So during the spring of 2020, there was various works that were done to the parking lot and to the building to facilitate holding the drive-in theaters in that location. And in the fall of 2020, the Phoenix Theatre resumed discussions with the regional municipality staff regarding continuing to have those drive-in theaters in the east parking lot and to possibly move a building onto the lot to house a projector. On May 7th of this year, the Northern Rockies planning staff met with the Phoenix Theatre staff and advised them that because a drive-in theater is not a permitted use in the C2 zone, that they should submit an application for a temporary use permit, which is what we're considering tonight. The application was submitted by the Phoenix Theatre Society on May the 10th. And the application deals with the use, so allows for that use to be conducted on the parcel, as well as the installation of a 12 by 12 foot pre-constructed outbuilding. In the administration report, I provided some information on temporary use under Section 42 of the Local Government Act. So again, this is a temporary use would allow for a use that's not permitted in the zoning bylaw. And it would also regulate the construction or placement of buildings and structures on the parcel. Just, there's a bit of legislation in there, but just as a bit of an FYI, the parcel is also located in a development permit area. So normally, when you're building a building or placing a structure within the development permit area, a development permit would be required. However, in this instance, because it is for a temporary use and it's something that would be authorized through a temporary use permit, a development permit's not required. One of the aspects that we would look at is impact to adjacent properties. So in addition to notification, so an actual mail out that will need to be completed, we look at adjacent properties and how this use may impact the adjacent properties. So there's some information in the administration report regarding adjacent properties, which in this case is fairly simple. It's bordered by roadways to the north and the south, and an empty building to the east, and the town square to the west. There's some information regarding costs. All costs are borne by the applicant, so the application fee and the advertising is borne by the applicant. There's normally a requirement for security. However, because we do have an existing agreement with the Phoenix Theatre that's valid from May 14th to October 31st, we're suggesting that we waive the security requirement. And as I mentioned, this is like the first initial look at the temporary use permit. Our next steps would be advertising 2 consecutive weeks in the local newspaper, notification to adjacent landowners, and then we would have a public hearing and, third and final reading before the temporary use permit is actually approved. I'll stop there and see if there's any questions.
Councillor Penny.
I will say that, the reviews from the town and, have been great for this drive-in cinema. I've talked to quite a few people that have, even that haven't partaked in it, have really appreciated the fact that it happened and that they would like to see it continue in the future. And the fact that I do believe have helped out so far in making it happen. Almost seems silly to not allow it to continue, but anyway, I have heard from quite a few people around the town how much they enjoy the fact that it's here.
Mr. Souls.
I just liked the picture there. It showed the farmer's market on a busy day.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah, no, it's actually, I like it too. I like that idea that the, temporary use, if it takes a temporary use permit to make it work, then I think that's the only thing I would add to this is the faster it can move forward, the better it is.
Thank you. Any other comments? Very well. Thank you.
We still need to make some sort of decision though, right? Even though it
Well-
wouldn't be final right now, so I could put a motion forward for option number 1?
That the Phoenix Theatre Management Society application for a temporary use permit number 2101 be approved for a period of 3 years to permit the use of a drive-in cinema within a highway commercial C2 zoned lot owned by the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality located at 5307 50th Avenue South. Councillor Penny?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Penny's motion? Seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Thank you. Councillor Penny.
Do we go back now to, number 30?
Let's do that. Councillor Penny, I believe there was some discussion here that we wanted to see the Phoenix Theatre come before us to make a presentation.
I would like to see that.
Would you like to see that?
I'd like to talk to them about it. And just
I
see what
also
the
would like
executive
to
plan-
see that. Councillor Souls.
I also would like to see that, and for the same reasons too. I think that the discussion around permanent expansion better be, it's a part of the discussion on this whole building and how we're looking at it, because the potential exists for expansion within this too, depending what direction we go, so.
Councillor Gerwing.
Councillor Souls, did you say an opportunity for expansion within what we do here? Like, I didn't hear.
No,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, just from, the idea of us getting together to decide what the end use for this building will be, we don't know, and so there's a infinite number of options that we would have, and so if an option were that we were moving into another building, the Phoenix Theatre could expand into this building. Like, you see where I'm going with that? It's just that that's so ambiguous, you can't nail down anything. It's just that till we have a discussion about how we see this building in the future, it's kind of awkward for us to consider adding on a permanent part of a new main building.
Right.
So, Councillor Souls, there's two aspects of this. One of them is the temporary use permit, which we've approved for 3 years. The other one is the Northern Rockies allowing them to use our property, and that could be in 1 year increments. So we can shorten up the increments so that they can use that property for that purpose within a timeline of what's happening with the building as a whole. So that would be an option. So in other words, we could grant the temporary use permit for 3 years and then allow the Phoenix Theatre to use that for as an outdoor cinema for a year at a time. So that would be one possibility. But as you and Councillor Penny had mentioned, we want to see the Phoenix Theatre come before us to see if that's a possibility for them and if that meets their criteria for advancing this project. Councillor Gerwing.
Mayor, didn't we just pass a resolution that gave them use of that for 3 years?
No, that was the temporary use permit. Mr. Barry, perhaps you can speak to this. The temporary use permit allows them to utilize the property, but we are the owners of the property, and that is a separate agreement. Is that correct?
Temporary use permit basically will allow the use in the property for 3 years. Because they are required to have an agreement with the municipality specific to use of the actual property from a ownership perspective, because we own it, council can elect, if they wish, to reduce the length of time for that particular licensing agreement. There is an ability there, council wishes. So the TUP is basically allowing, once everything goes through the process, the TUP will basically allow the use of the property specifically private cinema. Council can, if you wish, say, yes, you can use there, but we're not going to allow you to use the project or use it, or we're just going to allow you to do it for 1 year based on an agreement to use the property. So I think that's what you're asking, Mayor?
Yes, it is. It would be a sort of like getting permission to put a garage on your property and then not letting your neighbor use the garage. But anyway, Councillor Penny, you had a question?
I just wanted to clarify, I think that we had moved on, though, from the temporary use, right, onto
Yes.
the future expansion of the Phoenix Theatre, so, and I think Councillor Souls and myself have both said that we'd like to hear from what their plans are before we could go any further with this.
And to clarify, Mayor, this, I mean, Council Penny said, like, so those are two different things. The TUP and the request for the commitment from council for expansion of the building are two different things for sure.
Very well. Then, do we need a motion to request that staff contact the Phoenix Theatre and have them appear before us? Moved by Councillor Penny, seconded by Councillor Souls. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we will move on. Very well. Administration report number 32, Ms. McIver, Board of Variance.
So as the report indicates, we realized that the terms for the members of the Board of Variance expired at the end of last year, which isn't the end of the world because they don't often get called upon to exercise their roles. However, we are legislatively required to have one, because we do have a bylaw in place, and when we went looking at the bylaw, it appears that it predates the incorporation of the regional municipality. So we'd like to take some time to update that and also reflect our current zoning bylaws, and then bring it back to council for subsequent advertising for new members.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Councillor Gerwing.
So you said that we're legislatively required to have one because we have a bylaw. So if we took away the bylaw, we wouldn't have to have this? Because this board never meets in my 7 years, like.
Longer than that, probably, since
In
the last time
my
they
7
met.
years.
So I think if I recall correctly, that the legislation reads that if you have a official community plan and you're under a certain population, you must have a Board of Variance, but it has to be established by bylaw. So it's a yes and answer.
Very well. Any other questions? Thank you for that, Ms. McIver. Administration report number 33, rehabilitation of runway 0422. Mr. Humphries, good to see you.
Good evening,
How
Mayor
are
and
you this
Council.
evening?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Just wanted to come before you guys today to present the administration report. As you guys may be aware of, the tender was out last week and closed for rehabilitating runway 0422 last Thursday. We had one bid from IDL that came in under estimate and basically met all of our requirements. The company has done work for us in the past, and I would like to, I guess, recommend them for the project. This project is going to be a great benefit for our community and in the whole aviation in northern BC. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Humphries, and I appreciate that it will benefit all of northern British Columbia. Are there any questions for Mr. Humphrey? Councillor Souls.
I just have a question regarding, like, it's always good to see when we do get submissions, one submission at least. Whew, I'm glad there was one. Given that there are other contractors in our community that have some of the capabilities or the bulk of the capabilities doing the same type of work, do you see that there could be is there anything, bonding or any type of a barrier to others that would be, like, what would have resulted in having just one bid? I'm kind of curious.
Basically, this is a really specialized field of construction. More or less, the reason it came down to one bid is the hot-in-place asphalt recycling. There's only a couple of plants in Western Canada. So my understanding is the other plant that's in BC was already committed to another job. And in turn, I guess they were able to negotiate with IDL to get it done. And that's what kind of limited us to that single bid.
Yeah. Mr. Barry.
And I'll add to that, and that's exactly the issue right there. But one additional issue too is with the ACAP funding, we have till next March, I believe, based on the agreement to complete the project. But we know we're not building the runway or doing asphalt over the winter, so the time frame gets shrunk from March down to the end of September. Essentially, you're barely into October, which, given when the tender goes out, and we were limited based on the approval from ACAP, a lot of these other companies have projects already lined up for the summer. So we're fortunate that we were able to get the proposal and it came in under budget too, which.
Very well. Are there any other questions? Who would like to move that we spend $12,693,000? Sure. Moved by Councillor Souls, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Humphries.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Correspondence to Fort Nelson Motocross, Wade Matheson, NDIT, resolution for support for Fort Nelson Motocross Club. Are there any discussions on this? Councillor Penny.
I'll just make a couple comments. I'm not sure if anybody in the room has taken the time to go out there and see what they've done at the Motocross Club, but they've done quite a job of developing that. Getting to see how many people from out of town have actually gotten exposed to our community because of this club. I was really amazed. And as long as they keep up the standing with the course, it'll stay on it's on the circuit. So anybody that competes unprofessionally, whatever it is, in the northern circuit has to come here and race on this track. So it's been really good for our community. There's been quite a bit of exposure, and people usually, when they plan to come up this far, they plan to stick around and go up and check out the hot springs and go to Muncho Lake and that sort of thing. So I think it's been a really great thing for our community. So I'd be happy to.
Thank you. In that case, I'll make a motion that the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality supports the grant application from the Fort Nelson Motocross Club to the Northern Development Initiative Trust Recreational Infrastructure Program for up to the maximum grant of $100,000 for the 2021 Fort Nelson Motocross Club Enhancement Project. Would you like to second that, Councillor Penny?
I would.
Very well. All those in favor? Carried. Received for information, the council information package of May the 12th, 2021, the council information package of May 19th, 2021. Councillor Goering. Possible changes to Fortis rates.
Right, so, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting on May 13th, and they asked that, the NRM keep abreast of the possible changes to the Fortis rates for residents of Fort Nelson. Fortis is applying to the British Columbia Utilities Commission to integrate natural gas rates for Fort Nelson customers with provincial natural gas customer base. So all customers will pay the same rate for natural gas in BC. At this time, we have no idea what this will look like for Fort Nelson customers. If you remember some years back, Fortis tried to amalgamate rates, but the Chamber was able to work with a lawyer who provided services pretty much pro bono. This will not be an option this time. Fortis is currently connecting with customers and will then apply for the change. There's a survey attached to the agenda item in your package for people to fill in. But with council's approval, I think it would be valuable to have some staff time attached to gathering more information on how this change will affect the natural gas rates in Fort Nelson.
Very well. Are there any other comments? Councillor Goering, would you like to make a motion directing staff to...
I would like to make a motion that we attach some staff time to gathering more information on how this change will affect the natural gas rates in Fort Nelson. I mean, it might be positive, but it might be negative, but we don't know, and Fortis isn't really saying. Bev from the Chamber attended the public engagement session and really didn't get any solid information. So I think that there's information we need before decisions can be made.
Second that motion.
Very well. All those in favor? Carried. Provincial election reform, Councillor Goering.
Again, at the Chamber meeting, it was brought up that Bill 7, the Electoral Boundaries Commission Act, introduced earlier this month, will see the Electoral Boundaries Commission evaluate the boundaries and the number of constituents in each riding, making boundary changes to try and evenly distribute residents among MLAs. This could mean changes for our region. One possibility could see 3 or 4 MLAs representing the entire northern two-thirds of our province. With council's approval, I think it would be valuable to have some staff time attached to this process to ensure our voices are heard. The PRRD has already sent a letter to the Premier and Minister Eby outlining their concerns as these possible changes.
I reached out to our MLA, Dan Davies, but I didn't hear back from him. I wanted to discuss this with him to see what the further implications of this were, and I believe it's Bill 10, is it not?
I could be wrong, but I thought it was Bill 7. That's what I read in the news clipping, that
Okay.
Dan Davies was quoted as saying that it could drastically change the way the North has representation. Like, he was quoted as saying it could be one riding all the way from Prince George onward, and with one representative. So, but I don't know. So I
Very
think,
well. At least we can get staff to do a little investigation on this to find out what the implications are and what exactly that bill is about and what it says.
that would be my motion, yeah.
Moved by Councillor Goering, seconded by Councillor Roper. All those in favor? Carried.
I'm wondering too, Mayor, sorry, if that we want to bring this back rather quickly so that we can do a letter as well, or can we just do a letter outlining our concerns with having the boundaries rewritten to encompass a larger geographic region?
Mr. Berry, how long do you think it would take staff to investigate this?
The information's pretty much readily available regarding what's on the website, the BC website, so it wouldn't take much to bring a report back at the next meeting, to be honest with you. And in terms of timelines, looking at what's on the website, commission that actually reviews this information, won't be announced until October of this year.
Okay.
So I think you have, not that we would, but, we can do a quick turnaround, but
Very well.
the information is pretty much readily available online here.
Good, all right. Councillor Penny.
I think the commission's not being put together until October, but the decision on whether they're gonna give the committee the power to make any changes is gonna happen much.
It's already on the table.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Very well. Standing items for discussion, council reports. Are there any council reports? Councillor Gerwing.
I'll just finish off by saying I also attended the library board meeting on May the 7th and the Northern Rockies Trail Society meeting on May the 19th. And just to let council know that, that group is currently working on assessing some of the trails. They have created a Facebook group and they are working on their website, so they're moving forward.
Thank you. May 12th, I chaired the Resource Municipalities Coalition meeting. May 19th, I attended the BC Hydro rates, establishment of hydro rates and how hydro rates are going to be established and what sort of steps they use, etc. Whether meters would be, whether you'd pay more for hydro at peak times of the day or not, and I understand that Ontario does this, so between the hours of 6 and 8 p.m. you pay a higher rate for hydro than you do at noon. So it was actually quite long, quite involved. It was about 2 hours, and it talked about different ways that hydro rates are established right across North America. And May 20th, just attended the health advocacy with Mr. Blackie with the rest of council. So that was good, and it was very informative, and that's all I have there. Do we have any questions from the public, Ms. McIver? Very well. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn then. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Barry.
That's okay.
Your addition.
Just very quickly, Mayor, just for council's information, I'm sure you're aware BC announced the restart plan today. It's a 4-step plan to bring BC back, the hope to a gradual return to normal. Step 1 essentially started today. I won't get into all the details of this 4-step plan. It's very clearly outlined and laid out on the province's website, which we have posted on our platforms, our Facebook page, etc. But just starting today, maximum 5 visitors for indoor personal gatherings, max of 50 people for seated outdoor organized gatherings. The travel ban is still on in terms of staying within your travel regions. That's planned on being lifted as part of Step 2. Indoor and outdoor dining for up to 6 people. And resume outdoor sports with no spectators, and low-intensity sports is also allowed as part of the Step 1 plan. Step 1 starts today. Step 2, the earliest date is June 15th. Step 3, the earliest date they've communicated is July 1st. And then Step 4 is September 7th. Of course, the dates are all dependent on exposure and outbreaks, hospitalizations, etc. But hopefully, based on vaccines and what we're seeing with numbers in the province, it's hopefully we're heading in the right direction and can see a gradual return to normal.
Mrs. Laval.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. I'll just add, I've spoken to Stacy in the rec center. It's a bit late now for them to start any of their low-intensity fitness, but they are going to be reaching out to various groups such as the seniors to see if they'd like the rec center to do some programming for them, given that it's been a long time able to get together as a group. So they are going to be reaching out to various of those user groups to see if they would like something put together for them. So.
Councillor Gerwing.
Also, Dr. Henry announced today that the province is re-looking at the time frame between the first, what are they calling it, jab, and your second jab. I'm wondering if Northern Health has been in touch with us to let us know when the next clinic will be.
Yes and no, they haven't confirmed. Looks like they're looking at working on some plans specific to the 12 to 17 range, and potentially, sorry, 12, what did I say? 12 to 17 age group, 12 to 17 age group. And then also looking at confirming if the, because Pfizer's come out and said it's acceptable to go from 16 weeks down to 12, and they're feeling that Moderna has the same ability. Just need to confirm that, and if so, there's a potential then that date. We're just working through the logistics and we expect to have some communication specific to that here in the coming. We expect that we would be in, from a vaccination first to increase or decrease.
And I think the province is still struggling with getting enough doses. I don't think I think that's one of their challenges as to how they roll out the second dose is dependent on their availability. So, very well. If there's nothing else, I guess for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Penny, second by Councillor Soul.